What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of the Double S NFL podcast. I am Spencer,
I'm Sam.
and today we're gonna switch it up. Instead of doing game recaps and power rankings, we're gonna talk about some topics in the NFL. Some topics that have been circling across just NFL in general, like debates across NFL Instagram and much more. The first thing we're going to start with actually today, Tua Tagovailoa, the Dolphins quarterback. He was drafted fifth overall in 2021. And Sam, prior to when he was drafted, what was your opinion on Tua?
I thought he could be a really good player had he be, say, with the proper team and the right development. I thought Miami could be the right team for him, but with his hip injury he suffered, I didn't really know how he recovered from that and performed. In 2020, he did pretty well.
Considering the circumstances, I thought he got the job done. I think he went 7-3 as a starter.
Yeah, that's very good. Not to mention that some of those losses were to Kansas City,
Buffalo, but I just think
that
they
was
were
a
unprepared
complete
that game.
disaster. But
Yeah, they lost to Denver, which was a tough game for him. But that was it. Like the games they lost. He almost lost the game against the Raiders, but Flores benched him. And like the biggest knock on Tua coming into the year, and I had a concern about this too. He didn't really push the ball downfield. He was kind of like a statue in the pocket. I think he's much improved at trying to fit passes into tight windows this year. He's taking more risks. That's why his interception total has gone up already from last year. But I think he's had a fairly solid season. What do you think about his progression this season from a year ago?
early in the season, it was a bit of a struggle, but he did get hurt. But he has rebounded. They've won 4 in a row.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they started 1-7, and now they're 5-7. Believe it or not, they're only a game and a half out of the last AFC wildcard spot.
Correct, and I think with their upcoming schedule, I think they can make a run towards that 7th seed in the AFC. Maybe
I
at
could
8.
see it honestly. Like they have the Giants this week. I think they win that, and I think Tua plays a really good game. Then after that, they have the Jets at home. That should be a win. And after that, they have the Saints. I think they win that too. So that puts them at 8-7. And then they have to go 1-1 the last 2 weeks. They have the Titans without Derrick Henry, and Tannehill has been bad this year. And they have the Patriots at home, who they own at home. I could see them finishing 9-8.
I agree.
Wouldn't be shocked. And one more thing about Tua is that we'll talk about this fully in another episode, but the amount of people that give up on rookie QBs after 1 year, it's unbelievable. Like give them time. Like I have a 2-year rule with rookie quarterbacks, sometimes 3, but like never give up on a player after year 1 unless they have like legal troubles and yeah. Whoa. What do you think about that?
I absolutely agree with that. And not only will Tua only get better, the Miami front office needs to help him out.
The O-line is absolutely atrocious, and that needs to be fixed.
I think they'll address that in the offseason.
Yeah, I think say they have they have the Niners first round pick, so I think they go I think they could possibly trade up maybe for a guy like Tyler Lindenbaum. If he's there, say they trade up 6 or 7 spots, like 12 or 13, that could be a huge ad for them. And free agency, the O-line, there isn't much in O-line this free agency, but Brandon Sheriff is out there, so that could be a huge ad if they were to get him. And I just think adding to that O-line and in adding a running back probably later in the draft, like a Isaiah Spiller or Breece Hall type player like that, it's going to be huge for the development of Tua in the coming years.
Yeah, and currently, the San Francisco pick would be number 21.
Yeah,
And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would be number 21. And the San Francisco pick would
So
And
Miami needs a tackle right now, and Teron Armstead, Nate Soldier, Eric Fisher, Riley Reef, Morgan Moses, they're the top options right now. I'm not satisfied with many of them, but if they could throw a good amount of money for like a year, say at Teron Armstead, and like draft his replacement in say the third or fourth round, have him sit a year, I think that could be a good idea. But it's Trent Brown too, but the options are not really satisfying right now.
mhm. I feel like they could move up and select. They don't Kenyon Green or Tyler Lindenbaum.
Something like that. All right, so that is our opinions on Tua and his development this year. The next topic we're gonna get to is the offensive rookie of the year race. Sam, who are the top three candidates in your opinion right now heading into the final quarter of the NFL season?
My top three would be number one would be Mac Jones. He's the quarterback for the New England Patriots. He's been crushing it this year,
I
and
agree.
he's been the leader on a Patriots team that has won their last six, that has thrusted themselves back into contention in the AFC.
Who are your other two top candidates? Like not the favorites, but the runner-ups as of now.
My number two right now is Jamar Chase. He's the receiver from Cincinnati. Also crushing it.
Yeah,
Michigan. He's been
he's
killing it
been
in
amazing.
Cincinnati. He's been Joe Burrow, probably Joe Burrow's top target.
Oh, completely agree. And who's your third candidate?
Jalen Waddle.
Waddle, the Dolphins. Interesting pick there. He had a pretty slow start, but he's turned it up a lot in the last few weeks. I'm gonna go my top three candidates now. I'm gonna start number three, and here I'm gonna go Mac Jones. Phenomenal rookie season so far. I had my doubts about him. I thought he reminded me a lot of Josh Rosen. I thought the pressure would get to him in the NFL, but he's been very solid so far in Belichick's McDaniel system. I like what I'm seeing from him, but Herbert and Jefferson, there was that debate last year who should win, and I thought it should have gone to Jefferson. And it's kind of the same thing this year with Mac Jones and Jamar Chase, except Chase is my two who I'm going to get to. But I think Mac's up there, but I don't think his rookie season is like all that good. Don't get me wrong, it's been quite impressive, but there are better ones out there. My number two, Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase. Coming into the draft, I love this dude. And then in preseason, a lot of people had their doubts. He was dropping passes. There was a practice training camp. He dropped like four passes on like 5 targets or something similar to that, and people freaked out. And I'm like, everyone, shut up! It's preseason. It's practice. And he's proved everyone wrong who thought that. I've been really impressed. Like even though I had high hope for him, I didn't think he'd be this good. Statistically speaking, he's been a top 10, 15 receiver on the year. And my number one candidate, here's personally who I think should win the award. They're not going to give it to an offensive lineman, but Creed Humphrey has been the best center in football, in my opinion. And he's my number one candidate for offensive player of the year, straight up. He's a 90.9 PFF grade. That's one of the best in the league. Staple on that offensive line, and him and Trey Smith, they're going to be a great pair for that O-line for years to come.
Absolutely. I did not mention Creed Humphrey, but he's been very solid at center.
I think solid's an understatement. He's been top 2 center in football.
Okay.
All right. The next topic we're going to get to is the MVP race. Sam, we'll actually do top 4 for this. Who are your top 4 candidates for MVP right now?
Number 4 for me right now, the running back from the Indianapolis Colts
JT.
in Jonathan Taylor. He's been carrying them back to respectability and back to
In the playoff hunt. They're they're right there.
And do they have a playoff spot right now?
They don't. They're half game out, but they have Houston next week, so it's a great chance for them to hop right back in.
My number 3, excuse me, coming from the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson.
How he has like I think I saw like stats don't mean everything, but he has 14 touchdowns and 12 picks. They're not going to give it to a QB with stats similar to that.
That's why I have him at number 3.
I personally have him outside my top 8, but that's just me. I think he struggled even more than he did last year. He's still a good quarterback, but I think he's taken a step down from elite status.
My number 2 from the Arizona Cardinals is Kyler Murray. He's been fantastic, but I think injuries are probably the main reason he's down to number 2.
If he was healthy, do you think he'd be your consensus favorite?
Yes.
For the MVP award? Yeah, he
my number 1, Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback, Tom Brady.
Aaron Rodgers? You don't have Rodgers at all?
Nope.
Can you explain why briefly? Like
I haven't been a fan of him this year, especially with the Seattle game.
I don't think he used to have in the Seattle game. I'm like, he wasn't.
I'm going to switch Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson. Okay. Aaron Rodgers was 5, so I'm going to switch it.
All right. I'll get into mine. For the first time in a while, I disagree with that list a lot, and I'll get to why when I'm talking about my list. My number 4, coming from the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm gonna go Pat Mahomes still. Listen, he's struggled this year at times, but they're 7-4, 25 touchdowns, 11 picks. He's turned it up as of late, and I think he's only going to improve from here on out. This is like who I think will end up and should win the award, partially, and should is the key word here. I think Mahomes is going to get them right where they need to be. I think he'll end up like 36, 37 touchdowns and like 14, 15 picks. Which I don't think they're MVP numbers, but with how weak the QBs are this year, I think he's going to get it. My number 3 is Tom Brady, the Buccaneers quarterback. I think he's been amazing this year. Age 44, he will not age one bit. He's improved from last year, improved from 2019. And yes, he's in a good system with good receivers, good O-line, solid run game. But like, I guarantee you, if you put another 44-year-old QB in this, they will not succeed, even if it's like Peyton Manning. Brady's just that good. My number 2, I'm going to go Kyler Murray. Yes, he's been hurt, but when he was healthy, he was among the league's best at the position, running-wise and passing-wise, even more accurate than he was last year. His deep ball is unbelievable, and his running ability is flashy. He's shifty, he's elusive, and he's awesome on the ground. And my number 1 MVP candidate, the favorite right now, in my opinion, the Jeopardy host, Aaron Rodgers. While he was on Jeopardy this spring and he traveled to Hawaii this summer, lied about not getting the COVID vaccine, he's still, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the NFL right now, and he's having quite the season, especially with all the injuries on the O-line they have. So that will conclude the MVP discussion. But one more thing I do want to add is Jonathan Taylor. You had him in your top 5, and he's been great, don't get me wrong, but running backs are probably the least important position on the football field, not including punter and kicker. Punter, but I don't think running backs should be in the discussion for MVP.
We should.
Why do you think so?
They're not valueless. I have a thing against people who discredit the running backs. They're so important. They're not as important as they used to be, but they're so damn important. People don't see the value in it because they're so replaceable. Get the fuck out of here.
Yes, they are. They're really
Oh, shut
replaceable.
up. I'm not done.
No. Okay, go.
People, especially the Austin Ecklers who are so versatile, they can catch, they can do so many things, and you'll just often chuck them away the first chance you get because so they're younger, blah 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 blah.
I see that, and I kind of see where you're coming from, but like most running backs, except for Derrick Henry, in my opinion, I would not sign to a multi-year deal more than $5 million. And I mean, like Derrick Henry's an exception. I'd sign him to like a $15 million year one. Like I'd sign him like 345, 15 a year. But like the rest, they're products of their O line. Like Nick Chubb, he's good, but like we saw Dearness Johnson and what he did behind that O line. Like I'm not taking Chubb's success away. He's unbelievable. But like the O line plays a key factor in my opinion.
But it's a multi-person job. It's the running backs and the offensive line. It's not just one. I feel like people overvalue the offensive line a little bit, and devalue the running backs.
I disagreed on that because like the O line is there to like the Jets O line, for example. Greg Van Roden, their right guard from like weeks 1 to 9 this year, he was awful, and they acquired Duvernay Tundra from the Chiefs. He hasn't been great by any means, but he's been a lot better. And as a result of him, I believe the Jets' run game has been a lot better, even without Michael Carter this past week. Like Tevin Coleman, he had a couple great. He had like 4.5 yards per carry almost, like a little over 4, but for most of the game it was like 4.5, and like. Earlier in the year, he had like 2.6, 3.9. Like those numbers, I think, are inflated because of the O line. So the next thing we're going to discuss, the Seahawks on Monday night, they lost to the Washington football team, ultimately falling to 3-8, and their season looks to be all but done. Sam, take it away with this one. Where do you think Seattle should head from here?
Mass overhaul the roster. They're done. I'm not sure how much. Maybe you can bring in a different coach to get these players going, or different coordinators, but you need to do at least a mass overhaul of the coaching staff. Maybe even some of the players.
Yeah, like I've always been a huge Russell Wilson fan, always been. But he's I get he's coming back from injury, but he's missing open receivers. Like he's a second-year quarterback. O-line is aging. Dwayne Brown's regressed a bit. Left side of the O-line, even the center position isn't great. The corners aren't great, and Pete Carroll's coaching is so outdated. Like he's so conservative sometimes. He won't go for it on a 4th down. Stupid play call sometimes, but just by the team in general. And like I wouldn't be shocked. Like they have the Lions on their schedule, but if they finish the season 3-14, and I would not be the least bit shocked. They have to blow everything up. Trade Russ, get 2. You could probably get 3 first-round picks for him, but just trade him away. I try to deal Bobby Wagner as well. I try to Quandre Diggs is a free agent. He's going to be gone. I trade Tyler Lockett. I trade Chris Carson. I trade a lot of pieces on that team.
Yeah, Seattle was such a good run, especially when they had like the Legion of Boom.
Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, but they've declined. Like they had a great 8-year run, like end of last year and this year. It's really signaling the end of an era in Seattle. By the way, Seattle, I'm a Jets fan. For all of you who don't know, thank you for the 1st round pick for Adams. It's probably going to be a top 5 pick.
I didn't like the trading 2 first-round picks for Adams. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but I feel like he's overrated.
I agree. At times he's a liability in coverage. His tackling is great. He can get to the quarterback fast. He's elusive. He has solid speed. He's shifty, but like he's inconsistent. Like one game he'll play like a top safety in the league, and the next game he'll get outplayed by the backups on his team. Like you do know you're not gonna know where you're getting from Adams at all.
That's why they use him a lot as a linebacker.
Yeah, he's like kind of a hybrid linebacker safety this year. Even a pass rusher sometimes too.
And I think he got his 3rd career interception today.
He just passed Vince Wilfork.
And if he gets one more, he'll tie with one hand Jason Pierre-Paul or fireworks explosion Jason
He
Pierre-Paul.
lost like a finger, yeah. Moral of the story is time for Seattle to blow it up, fire Carroll, get rid of most of the coordinators.
I'd even get rid of the GM.
Oh yeah, I would too. I've liked his moves in the past. Let me see how long he's been there. John Snyder, he's been there for a while, but like
I want to say since Carroll got there.
Yeah, he's been there for over a decade now, but how long has John Snyder? 11 years. That's right what I thought. And like drafting Russell Wilson, that 2012 draft in general was phenomenal. Bobby Wagner and Wilson, but the drafting hasn't been great recently, and they're just going downhill. And I think personally, I believe they have the worst future out of any team in the NFC. Okay. Moving on to the next discussion, we're going to talk about NFL refs, kind of like taunting penalties a bit.
And like penalties, the roughing the passer.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff. Sam, you take this one away first. Flashback to that last week, the Raiders Cowboys game. What was your opinion on some of the calls in that game?
I feel like some of the calls were right, but some of them, especially maybe the Anthony Brown.
They were like, I don't think like one Carr underthrew one of those balls quite a bit. Like it kind of hit him. Like I don't think he was really grabbing onto him, like they said.
But his head wasn't turned to the ball. He wasn't. Yeah, it's like ticky, and some calls from different crews are different.
Exactly.
And some call more ticky-tack bullshit. Like the crew from the Steelers and the Bears game a few weeks ago.
Oh my God. Like it felt like every other play, like they made the wrong call.
That was one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen.
Same, yeah. And this has been a problem for years too. Like everyone knows the no call, but like even like last year, like week 1, 2020, they missed a easy defensive pass interference on Michael Gallup in the Cowboys Rams game. And like, yeah, and like they're like roughing the passer calls. Like they even like fine people for like just touching the quarterback. And like when someone's like all over them, they don't even give them a penalty. They're so inconsistent. It boggles me.
Absolutely. Holding calls can be a little suspect.
Exactly.
Hits the face calls can be a little suspect.
So overall, I think the refs, something has to happen, something has to give soon, because they've been horrible all year long, and it doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon. The final thing we're going to talk about on here is the Mr. Biting kneecaps off, Dan Campbell. Is he the long-term coach in Detroit? Is he not? What do you think, Sam?
I think he needs time to sort of develop his own team. They play hard. They really do.
Yeah.
especially what we've seen the past couple of weeks against Cleveland, against
The Bears.
the Bears, and against the Steelers. Even though they didn't win any of those games.
They tied one of them on the road.
Yeah, they did tie one of them, and it's I don't know.
It's better. It's better than a loss.
Better than Matt. He's better than Matt Patricia.
Oh, 100%. Like, his play calling has a lot to be desired. Like, he called a run, like a screen pass on 3rd and 32, I believe, but he's getting there. He's a rookie head coach. It's going to take time. And the culture he's brought there, the players work their asses off. Under Matt Patricia, Darius Slay won it out, and the culture being built there is phenomenal. And I think whichever player they draft, it's going to be a much more attractable place for free agents this offseason than it was with Patricia and Caldwell in the past.
Oh yeah, and even in Caldwell, he could get them to a winning record.
Yeah, like
As
Patricia
it
was just a
showed
different level of bad.
2014, 2016, and 2017.
Exactly.
Hiring Matt Patricia was the worst possible mistake they could have done.
He was supposedly a defensive guru, and they had the worst defense in the league in 2020. Speaks a lot. All right, so that will conclude this episode of the Double S NFL podcast. Any last words, Sam?
Thanks for watching. Have a great night.
You too, guys.
All right.